Assalamualaikum to Madam Azian. Today we will present about AC and DC machine for induction. First of all, I will introduce our name. My name is Abdul Hakim bin Hamza, and my group member's name is Ainin Sofia binti Muhammad Huzani, Muhammad Shazni Fikri bin Suhaimi, Muhammad Firdaus bin Jafri, and Ahmad Afiq bin Muhammad Aznizam. Okay, next. AC machine. AC machines are motors that convert AC electric energy to mechanical energy and generators that convert mechanical energy to AC electric energy. The two major classes of AC machine are synchronous and induction machines. So the photo shows us AC motor will be divided by two, which is synchronous motor and induction motor. For induction motor will be divided by two, which is single phase induction motor and three phase induction motor. Next. There are three functions of AC machine. First, a generator used to produce alternating current. Second, a motor that converts electrical engine energy into mechanical work. And the last one, a converter that changes the voltage and frequency of an electrical current. So I will pass the presentation to Ainin Sofia.
A DC machine is an electromechanical energy alteration device. The working principle of a DC machine is when electric current flows through a coil within a magnetic field, and then the magnetic force generates a torque that rotates the DC motor. The DC machine are classified into two types, such as DC generator as well as DC motor. The DC machine can be classified into two types, namely DC motor and DC generator. Most of the DC machines are equivalent to AC machine because they include AC current as well as AC voltage in them. The output of the DC machine is DC output because they convert AC voltage to DC voltage. Function of DC machine. The first one is back used for a motor. Second, good speed regulation and an example of speed in electric transition system. And the last one is convert AC voltage to DC voltage. Next slide. Difference AC and DC machine. AC types AC motor are mainly two types, which are synchronous AC motor and induction motor. DC motor are also mainly of two types, which are namely DC motor with brushes and DC motor without brushes. For current input, AC motor only run when an alternating current is given as input. DC motor will only run when DC supply is given in the case of DC series motor. The motor might run with AC supply, but for shunt motor, the motor never runs on AC supply. For the commutator and brushes, commutator AC brushes are absent in AC motor. Commutators and carbon brushes are present in the DC motor. For efficiency, due to induction, current loss and motor slip, the efficiency of the AC motor is less. For DC, the efficiency of the DC motor is high as there is no slip and induction current loss. For the efficiency of the DC motor is high as there is no slip and induction current loss. AC motor are required where there is a need for a high speed and variable torque. For DC motor are required where there is a need for variable speed and high torque. Next, I will pass to the Shazni.
Hello, I'm Shazni. I'm going to talk about advantage and the advantage AC and DC. So the first one is advantage AC and the advantage of AC. The first one is the generation of AC is cheaper than of the DC. A wide range of voltage is obtained by the use of a transformer. AC can easily be converted into DC with the help of rectifier. The advantage is the peak value of AC is high and it's dangerous to use, so better insulation is required. It attracts a person to touch it, unlike DC, which gives a repelling shock. And AC is transmitted from the surface of the conductor and hence need several strands of thin wire insulate from each other. Advantage DC and the advantage. So the first one, DC power can be generated from renewable clean energy source such as solar energy and does not make any pollution. The magnitude and polarity are constant for DC supply, so they are very energy efficient. As the nature of DC supply is constant, so it's most suitable for electronic circuit. Due to that, all electronic devices work on DC supply. DC power transmission and distribution is low, expensive than AC power transmission and distribution. The advantage of DC cannot be generated at a very voltage due to the commotion problem and more complex. DC cannot be transmitted over a long distance because it cannot be stepped up or stepped down. AC to DC conversion is very simple, but when coming to the pin to DC to AC, conversion is more complex and need a proper output also can not be obtained. DC supply operate electrical machine, device such as DC motor. DC circuit breaker are more expensive than AC supply operate machine and device to do their complex design. I will pass to the Firdaus.
About application for induction. Induction machine are the most machine are the most frequently used type of motor used in residential, commercial, and industrial settings so far. In an induction motor, the electric current in the rotor need to produce torque is obtained via electromagnetic induction from the rotating magnetic field of the stator winding. An induction motor is a generally used AC electric motor. In an induction motor, the electric current in the rotor need to produce torque is obtained via electromagnetic induction from the rotating magnetic field of the stator winding. The rotor of an induction motor can be a squirrel cage rotor or one-type rotor. Used in different applications, induction motors are also called asynchronous motors. This is because an induction motor always runs at a slower speed than synchronous speed. The speed of the rotating magnetic field in the stator is called synchronous speed. The characteristic features of this three-phase AC motor are simple and rough conduction, affordable and low maintenance, high reliability and high precision, no requirement of additional starting motor, and necessity not be synchronized. Single-phase induction motor. The single-phase induction motor does not self-start. The main winding carries a sporadic current when the motor is attached to a single-phase power supply. It is quite logical that the cheapest, most reduced upkeep sort engine ought to be used most regularly. Based on their way of starting, these machines are categorized differently. Those types are shape pole, split phase, and capacitor motors. Also, capacitor motors start with capacitor, run with capacitor, and have permanent capacitor motors. In this single-phase type of motor, the start winding can have a series capacitor and a centrifugal switch. When the supply voltage is applied, current in the main winding will up the supply voltage because of the main winding impedance, and current in the start winding leads or lags the supply voltage depending on the starting machine impedance. The angle between the two windings is sufficient phase difference to provide a rotating magnetic field to produce a starting torque. The point when the motor reaches 70% to 80% of synchronous speed, a centrifugal switch on the motor shaft opens and disconnect the starting winding. The application single-phase induction is such as pumps, compressors, small fan, mixers, toys, high-speed vacuum cleaners, electric shavers, and drilling machine. Next, I will pass to Afiq.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. I am Afiq Masizam. Okay, I will continue the second type of the induction. Okay, the second type of induction is a three-phase induction motor. Being self-starting, the three-phase induction motor use no start winding, centrifugal switch, capacitor, or other starting device. The two types of three-phase induction motor are squirrel cage and slip ring motors. The feature which make the squirrel cage motor widely applicable are mainly their simple design and rugged construction. With external resistor, the slip ring motors can have high starting torque. The three-phase induction motor are used extensively in the domestic and industrial appliance because these are rugged in construction, requiring little to no maintenance, comparatively cheaper, and require supply only to the starter. Okay, application the three-phase induction is a lift, crane, hoist, large capacity exhaust fan, driving lathe machine, crusher, oil extraction mill, textile, and other more. Okay, that's okay. Conclusion. AC machine is an electric machine that converts alternating current into mechanical current rotation, while DC machine is an electric machine that converts direct current into mechanical energy. Both of them have some advantage and disadvantage on their own, such as AC machine has lower power demand, on start and minimal maintenance, while DC easier and cheaper to control. In this segment, we had learned the induction in the AC machine. AC machine always relies on a small difference in speed between the stator rotating magnetic field and the rotor shaft speed called slip to induce rotor current in the rotor AC winding. We learned the principle of operating induced AC machine. There are also several types of induction motor, which is a single-phase induction motor and a three-phase induction motor. Okay, and that's all for us. Thank you.